Hello and welcome to our presentation about Employer Branding 2020, looking at where your focus should be. Today we'd like to share our expertise and insight to help you to focus on the most important aspects of employer branding right now and then throughout the rest of 2020. I'm Sarah Sturgess, Agency Director at XMRX, an employer marketing agency who specialise in employer branding and talent attraction. We work across early careers and experienced hire markets. I've gained my expertise over the last 20 years here at XMRX and as a consultant to many organisations as they've developed their employer brands. I love nothing more than sharing what I know to help experts like you and to develop employer brands that really matter. My co-presenter today is Andrew Paterson.
Hi everyone, as Sarah said, my name's Andy. I work at the Lego Group, looking after global brand and talent attraction here in London.
Thanks, Andy. But first, I'll begin with our introduction, which starts here. Is it me, or do you all feel like this too? 2020 started off like most other years in the world of employer branding and resourcing, for most of us. Then we started seeing and hearing about this horrible illness, one which I think I caught before I really knew what it was. So for me, it was too soon to worry too much, but sadly this hasn't been the case for many. All of a sudden, many of us started the biggest ever home working experiment in history. What started as an interesting pilot scheme has now become something that many organisations have set to be normal practice until 2021. This isn't the only thing, though, that's on the minds of employers and employees around the world right now. These are just some of the many words and themes being talked about in our industry. We know this because we at XMRX have been tracking sentiment over the past 3 months. We've been looking at what's been said, what's concerning people, and also where people are focusing. We'd also be happy to share those insights with you. But let's pull out some of these key points first in a bit more detail. Firstly, trust. Really, what's been on the minds of employers is how well they trust their people to work in this very new, very different way. Empowering employees to manage what is quite challenging around both children and work in a way that works for them. It's flexibility that's never been seen before. We're also faced with many organisations with many staff on furlough. So what's interesting to think about is how is that impacting the culture of your organisation if you're in that situation, and how will it impact people's thoughts about longer term careers? Engagement, so making sure that keeping an honest, transparent message flowing to all of the people who work for you, and then also those who may still be joining you and going through virtual onboarding processes. Leadership as well is really important because right now, how an organisation is led is incredibly important. It must sustain the business for the majority of people. And we're hearing all about well-being. So how do employers ensure that all the employees that are now working in a different way are still communicated with, their well-being isn't impacted, and you're being supportive to them? So how do we balance the biggest need I've ever seen to get your culture and employer branding on point to address all of these things with furloughed teams, budget constraints, and also lockdown? It's the perfect time to reevaluate and take a magnifying glass to your employer brand and the culture you're creating. And that doesn't need to take big budgets or vast amount of time. Here's a starting point for your consideration when you think about the future of your employer brand. Where were you when you started 2020? What were your ambitions, thoughts, and desires? But how are you working now? And how are your employees experiencing working for you at the moment? What messages are you giving to prospective candidates? And where do you want and need to be when we come out of this challenging period? And importantly, how are you keeping candidates in your pipeline engaged throughout? I know from clients that there's been no shortage of employee surveys, temperature checks, and we've also here at XMRX made our own offer of free employer brand measurement during 2020 to organisations who are unable to do this. But where we've really seen the biggest gap is with candidates. and understanding the impact of withdrawn offers, virtual onboarding, being kept lukewarm in talent pools. This is where more focus could really be to understand the impact on your employer brand perception. If you collect this information now, you'll be in a far better position to review your EVP against the impact of COVID-19 and focus on leaving lockdown with a clear, honest, and authentic message. Your business will be changed forever, so why stick with your old EVP? If you do, it will start to have a detrimental effect on your culture. Because culture really matters. It shapes how people think and feel about working somewhere. Lockdown will undoubtedly have shaped your culture and the values you hold dear. Our research has shown that employers are reverting to Maslow's hierarchy of needs and seeking things like a focus on stability, health, well-being, and leadership from their company at this particular time. This puts an increasing pressure on leaders to get their messaging right, and adopting an honesty is the best policy approach has already rewarded many organisations with their swift and open communication. It's not always the corporate messages, though, that are best shared. Employee messages are 3 times more likely to be believed than corporate messages. So now's a great time to maximise on engagement levels and grow your employer brand ambassadors. Employer brands work best when they're lived and breathed from the inside of an organisation out, which is why there's no better exponents of the values, the culture, and the reasons why other people should want to work somewhere than existing employees. So identifying the best advocates within an organisation and championing them to share their personality and that of their organisation, internally and externally, creates an authentic and relatable connection that can't be beaten. Our client work has shown that in many cases, lockdown can be a great opportunity to build employer brand ambassador programs and generate content of a user-generated nature. So, if that's the theory, how can it work in practice? I'd like to hand you over now to Andy to talk through our employer brand journey with Lego over the last few months.
Thanks very much, Sarah, and thanks very much for allowing us to share a little bit of the Lego Group journey with you today. So the Lego Group tends not to need too much of an introduction. I wanted to give a little bit of an oversight of who we are and what we do and where we are in the world. So Lego was born, it's made up of the Danish word legot, which means play well. And it was created by Danish carpenter Ole Kirk Christensen back in 1932 in Billund, Denmark. And we're on our 4th generation of the Kirk Christensen family, so it makes us quite unique. And it allows us to plan, be much more insightful in terms of our planning approach into the future from a sightline point of view. Our global reach, we've got 37 sales offices, 5 regional hubs in London, Billund, where the headquarters is, Shanghai, Singapore, and Enfield in Connecticut. And we've got 5 manufacturing sites or factories where the Lego bricks are made. So Billund again, we've got a big factory there, Kladno in the Czech Republic, China, Hungary, and in Mexico. We've got 18,000 colleagues, so there's huge opportunities in terms of career opportunities for our colleagues across the world, and we see quite a bit of movement sometimes where we do secondments and job roles, and we move people around, which allows them to see the world and the rest of the Lego Group too. We're super proud of two things. We're the #1 toy company in the world and the #1 most reputable brand this year, which we hold those 2 accolades very close to our heart, which is great. So this is the Lego brand framework, and I call it our guiding star. And it's derived from something called the Lego Idea Paper, which has been created by the Kirk Christensen family. And our belief is that children are our role models. Kids are curious, creative, imaginative, and we always look at kids for inspiration in everything that we do. Our mission is to inspire and develop the builders of tomorrow, and that goes much beyond just selling a Lego set, a theme, or the Lego brick. We want to promote the development of kids through playful learning so that the best possible opportunity to be creative problem solvers. Now, our values are absolutely central to everything that we do. So imagination, creativity, fun, learning, caring, and quality. And I wanted to just highlight one of those, which is fun. So every single year across the Lego group, every employee downs tools for one day to have a day of fun, and we call it Play Day. And this year, obviously, COVID played foul to that for us, but it didn't stop our teams. We have a play director, and she created, with her awesome team in Billund, created something called Virtual Play Week. And just this morning, I was sitting playing with my kids, having a virtual play session with Lego bricks that were delivered in a cool package for us to interact and build with people from across the world. And the XMRX team were able to join those sessions as a partner as well, which was great. So our promises, our play promise, partner promise, planet promise, and people promise guide us through our options and choices. And we feel that they give us the license to be able to then reach out and work with different communities. And it's the way we do business. So it's really central to everything we do. Our spirit, only the best is good enough, it's where we want to strive to do better year on year. And that's because kids deserve that. And that was created by Ole Kurt Christensen back in the first generation of the family ownership. So who am I? So I joined the Lego group back in December 2019, and I'm the green line on this slide. So I'm the employer brand management and talent attraction lead for the Lego group, sitting within the global talent acquisition team. And we're a brand new team. Our senior director joined last year, I think it was around May time last year, and she continued to build the team as well as sort of building the framework and the strategy throughout 2019. Now our team's are based across the globe, so Enfield in Connecticut in the USA, Singapore, London, and Billund in Denmark. So we've got a really sort of global presence, and that covers recruitment excellence through technology, process, selection, myself and employer brand and talent attraction, and executive hiring based out of the US too. So as a brand, Lego or the Lego group is recognised and loved. Instantly recognisable logo, the colours, very bright, vibrant. And as a product, whether it's a theme or a set, everyone's got a memory from either their childhood or how they play with your children now. Everyone's got a connection with our brand at some stage, even if it is standing on a Lego brick, which I can assure you is Duplo is probably the most painful brick to stand on. But as an employer, we're a bit of a mystery. And that's where we started our journey. So last year, we partnered with XMRX to do a piece of research to really understand where our opportunities were. And that started off by looking at the different sites and locations where we are located across the globe and what could we do there. We wanted to look at shining a light at the colleagues behind the bricks. So we've got over 18,000 of those of colleagues based across the world, whether it's in a factory in Hungary or our shared service team in Singapore, Kladno in the Czech Republic, or in Monterrey, Mexico. We've got lots of opportunities to be able to shine a light and allow them to tell their story, to really show what career opportunities there are at the Lego group. We also wanted to promote some of our locations through some cool infographics. And what this slide shows you is that some of the development stuff that were derived from the piece of work that SMRS did around our careers website and creating a little bit of a sizzle reel around our purpose, doing some pretty cool GoPro tours of our locations and regional hubs across the world, through to just some using minifigures and products to tie into the vacancies that we advertise via our website and through LinkedIn. We also wanted to call out some quite cool infographics that people just didn't know about the Lego group. So the example on screen now is we've got one of the biggest design teams in Northern Europe, all working away in a very secretive workshop in our design studio in Billund, where our HQ is. And it's pretty cool, it's really, really secretive. It's got windows that you can't see in, and but we've got one of the biggest design teams. So what we've done is we've created a series of those to be able to tell our story, and give some cool facts that people just wouldn't associate with our brand. So COVID-19, so how have we had to adapt our approach? So looking at three things, our ambassador film crew, we had planned to do lots of interviews and very polished approach, and go out and film people like you would have expected. Our hub heroes, we plan to reach out and go out to some of our hub locations to do the GoPro activity, be on site, boots on the ground from a creative perspective to ensure that we were able to provide that creative direction with the SMRS team. And we weren't able to do that. So where are we now? So COVID-19 provided us with a lot of opportunities. We paused our activity very, very briefly to then say, well, actually, how can we connect with lots of colleagues from across the world virtually? So we set lots of online meetings up. We interviewed the colleagues via Microsoft Teams, but we allowed them to film the content on their phone. So it's got a very rough take of user generated. So we gave them sort of freedom to position themselves, how they wanted to be, set their phones up how they wanted to be, and we set them up with a set of questions. So it gave that user generated feel to the whole interview. What it certainly did was, everyone that we wanted to connect with was sitting in front of their laptops because they weren't traveling to different locations. They were working from home, so it was super easy to connect with people and get all those meetings set up. It helped me in my journey as well because I was connecting with people from across the globe. I'm only a few months into my time here at the Lego Group, so I was learning lots as I went through this. So it was a great opportunity to do that. Our hub heroes in Shanghai. So I didn't get to travel to Shanghai, but what we were able to do is do lots of briefings again via Microsoft Teams, have lots of setup meetings and provide the creative direction, but let them get on with how they wanted to do it, use the GoPro equipment. And we're at the final stages of that at the minute. So we've worked hand in hand with the guys at SMRS to brief the team in Shanghai to be able to get on with it. So we're super excited to be able to do that. And we've got some pretty cool hub heroes that we'll be looking to share on social throughout the rest of this year. And then the infographics piece was quite interesting. So we, the team at SMRS were asking me for lots of different facts around the Lego Group that people just wouldn't know. And we had planned to do speak to the ambassadors to be able to get some insights from them. But actually, we decided just to use the internal social media platform Yammer to connect with every colleague from across our organisation to say, tell us something about working at the Lego Group that people just wouldn't know. Which was because there's lots of information, there's been lots of documentaries done, but something about you as an employer colleague that just people wouldn't know. And my goodness, it went off the Richter scale. People absolutely love working at the Lego Group, and I can see why. They were chatting to each other on this thread around different things, and we've collated all of those to be able to share as part of the infographics. And I'm not sure we would have been able to get that if we had just used the 30 ambassadors. We would have missed out on some pretty cool stuff there. So how are we measuring the impact? So as part of our work with the team at SMRS, we've created a social dashboard. It covers talent attraction and employer branding, and it brings together insights from our corporate brand comms team and information and insights from the talent acquisition circle as well. So we bring it all together into one dashboard to help us storytell. And we measure the impact through colleague shares, through Elevate, career site visits, candidate engagements as they go through the process. And the final part that we're looking at is the brand metrics piece and engaging with our NPS scores, our happiness scores, and what the impact of our brand has had on that, but also looking to have internal ambassadors that can really tap in to help us shape the creative as we go forward. But that last element's yet to come, and we're probably going to get to that at the back end of this year into next year. So what have we learned? Don't pause your employer brands, just adapt. I think we did take a minute where we when COVID hit, I think like most organisations, we thought, right, gosh, how is this going to impact on the big plans that we've got, whether it's the career website, whether it's some of the content we've talked about in terms of the infographics and the GoPro activity. But we adapted really quickly because we knew that there was probably a bigger opportunity for us to engage with people a lot quicker. Everyone was at home, everyone was in front of their laptop, everyone was working, so there was no traveling, etc. So everyone's days got a little bit longer, so it was much easier to connect with people. Have a strategy to work towards. I think that's a bit of a cliche because everyone should have something to work towards. I think as long as you have your end goal in sight, you can adapt and change how you get there to get from point A to point B. And online collaboration works exceptionally well. I think we've used Microsoft Teams, we've used Yammer, we've used Zoom, etc., to connect with lots of different people, which has been super easy. And there's lots of different ways you can use technology to do that. And the user-generated content approach has kind of blown me away a little bit, because I think in my previous roles I've always been a little bit shy of giving the sort of creative carte blanche to the teams to be able to go away and do something. But actually, we know that I think it's 3 times more engaging. If people want to see something, it's much more user generated. So we've done a little bit of a twist on that, which has been taking us out of our comfort zone as an organisation, because it's not something that we would typically have done. An employer brand activity on this scale is not something that Lego Group have done. We do some really cool stories, we do some really great collaborations and stuff via LinkedIn, but we're looking to broaden and grow that in partnership with our comms teams and involved stakeholders and ambassadors, which links very nicely in with the comms team. My job would not be possible if I didn't have people partner stakeholders across the globe, talent operations and talent acquisition teams who are based across the globe, and their internal corporate brand communications team, our internal comms team. It's how I see that as 2 sides of the same coin, and it wouldn't be a success without them. And before we finish up, anyone that's seen the Lego movie would know that Emmett has a saying that everything is awesome, and Pride Month this month, and we believe at the Lego Group that everyone is awesome. So on that note, I'll hand back to Sarah and we will answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Andy. That's a nice place to stop as well, because we've really loved working with you guys on this. So awesome experience for us too.